All right, welcome. It's Monday, March 11th, 2024. It's 5:30 p.m. And this commission meeting of the Port of Olympia is now officially called to order. Let's first start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Tong, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice. Thank you for that. We have an agenda in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Commissioner, I'd like to request a change to the consent agenda. And respectfully requesting to remove the January 22nd minutes. We'll bring those back at another time after some formatting change.
To remove January 22nd minutes from the consent calendar. Amend the agenda by removing January 22nd.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. Amend tonight's agenda by removing the January 22nd, 2024 minutes from the consent calendar. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will call for the vote. So an amendment to this evening's agenda to remove January 22nd, 2024 minutes from the consent calendar. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the amendment is approved. So now we have an amended agenda. Is there any further discussion on the amended agenda? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor of approving this evening's amended agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. Thank you, everyone. Executive Director report.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, well, we had a pop-up cargo opportunity, and thanks to our nimble marine terminal staff, we're now expecting a cattle vessel arrival this week with cattle loading operations through Friday, March 14th. Congratulations once again, Alex Smith, on being selected as the Port of Olympia Executive Director. Alex's first official day is Monday, March 18th. And the Port of Olympia staff will be hosting an Executive Director Town Hall meeting on Wednesday, March 27th, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Olympics Room here, located 606 Columbia Street Northwest. Interested members of the community are invited to attend. It'll be a great opportunity to welcome the new Executive Director, Alex Smith. And as usual, we value your input, and there are the usual opportunities. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Rudy. Is there any questions or comments for the Executive Director report? Hearing none, we will move on. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Individual public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Members of the public may comment on agenda items and other port business. And guidelines for public comment can be found in the commission rules in resolution 2022-09, article 6. Comments should be directed to commission as a whole and should not include comments about individual port staff or members of the public. All speakers shall be courteous in language and demeanor and shall confine remarks to those facts that are germane and relevant to the question or issue under discussion. Having said that, is there any? I don't see any public comment here this evening. Is there any public comment on online, Missy?
No public comment.
No public comment. All right, we will then move into the consent calendar. The consent calendar has two items. Number one is a professional services agreement, award number 2024-1005. Skillings Marine Drive Northeast, James Summer Capital Assets Program Manager. And item number two is minutes from January 16th and January 29th of 2024. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent calendar passes. Thank you very much. We have no pending issues. So we'll move to the action calendar. And the single item in the action calendar this evening is Small Cities Program and Resolution Update. Tad Koff, Director of Finance. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. My presentation tonight, I'm Tad Koff, Director of Finance for the Port of Olympia. This is a requested action item presentation on the Small Cities Program amendment. The resolution adopting to expand the Small Cities Program as budgeted for in last year's budget. This is also subsequent to the presentation from February 20th with the detail of the program. The proposed resolution language changes are intended to extend the program to include unincorporated communities and has included language to ensure that the new communities have sufficient government structures to accept and administer an award from the program. We've also added language, an application question to verify the legal authority and statute under which the applicant is qualified to accept and administer port awarded funds. In the last presentation, there was a request made to send a redlined draft version of the resolution to Commission. That was done on the 21st. And based on the response to that commission, no additional changes have been made to the draft resolution as presented on February 20th. It's also worth noting that presently invitation letters set to go out in February will now obviously have to go out in March. Any questions?
If there's no questions or comments, or you have more?
I don't. Actually, the next step then would be to suggest the suggested motion language to adopt the draft resolution as presented.
Move to approve resolution number 2024-03, amending the Port Small City Economic Development Program to add language extending the program to include unincorporated communities that have sufficient governance structure or are otherwise qualified to accept and administer an award from the Small Cities and Communities Program.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve resolution number 2024-03, amending the Port's Small City Economic Development Program to add language extending the program to include unincorporated communities that have sufficient governance structure or are otherwise qualified to accept and administer an award from the Small Cities and Communities Program. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say I'm excited to be able to expand this to include Rochester Grand Mound, who is not an incorporated city and technically didn't fall under our program. I think that that's going to be a great benefit to the community. I wanted to ask Commissioner Sabata if the comments you had last time, if you feel comfortable with the language or if you had any other changes.
Thank you, Commissioner Harding. My technical concerns weren't fully addressed, but if staff is comfortable and aren't worried, I am comfortable with moving forward in the way that they've recommended.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor to approve resolution number 2024-03, amending the Port Small Cities Economic Development Program to add language extending the program to include unincorporated communities that have sufficient governance structure or are otherwise qualified to accept and administer an award from the Small Cities and Communities Program. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Koff.
Thank you very much. I will take this opportunity to move ahead with the program then.
All right. Moving on to action other calendar. We have one item on the action other calendar. Rick Hughes contract amendment. Ben McDonald, Director of Human Resources and Administration. You have the floor.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good to be with all of you tonight. Ben McDonald, as mentioned, Director of Human Resources and Administration, here to talk to you tonight about an amendment for Rick Hughes, the law offices of Rick Hughes P. LLC. Tonight's presentation is an action other. We are seeking approval to amend the contract with Rick Hughes. Hi, Rick, he's right there. It's weird, Rick, right there. At least I'm not talking behind your back. So a little bit of background about Rick. The port's very fortunate to have partnered with Rick in the last couple of years. He came on in 2022, and Rick has a wide range of legal services and law that he is versed in and has provided the port guidance. Some of those are environmental, real estate, employment, procurement, contracts, governance, OPMA issues. And as you can see, he attends the regular commission meetings, executive sessions, and special meetings as requested. So history on this contract was originally approved March 6, 2022 from the commission for $100,000. About 6 to 7 months later, I think Rick and the port realized how busy he would be, and they amended the contract for $250,000 on October 10th, 2022. The second increase came on November 6th, just this past fall. And the executive director utilized their authority through the professional services contract, where it's an amount not to exceed 10% of the total amount of the contract. And so it was added $33,000 on November 6th. And then tonight we're here to request funding for $100,000 for a new total not to exceed of $483,000. As you remember, Rick recently provided notice to this commission of his intentions to move on. This amount gets us simply from February to the end of June, so Rick can continue his services here and help us with the transition plan, whatever we decide. Questions and comments and a suggested motion to approve this contract increase.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Why don't we go into public comment then? Is there anybody on Zoom who would like to make public comment?
No public comment on Zoom. Oh, John Newman.
Who is it?
John Newman.
Oh, John Newman. Mr. Newman, can you, if you can hear me, you have the floor.
Yes, sir, Commissioner, I can hear you. I was going to comment that this ongoing work has been going on for 9 months or so, and my question is that I'm not questioning the work that's needed, but when the contracts continue to increase by the amounts of like $100,000, the public is concerned. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Any other public comment?
No additional public comment.
All right, thank you.
I would move to authorize the interim executive director to sign amendment number 3 regarding contract number 2022-1015 for a contract authority increase of $100,000 for the law office of Richard L. Hughes PLLC with the term date of June 30th, 2024. And a not to exceed amount of
Right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to authorize the interim executive director to sign amendment number 3 regarding contract number 2022-1015 for a contract authority increase of $100,000 with the law office of Richard L. Hughes PLLC with a term date of June 30th, 2024, and a not to exceed amount of $483,000. Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to make a comment. I expressed this to Ben. I completely think that Rick is doing a great job. And as we figure out how to move forward, whether it's on a contractual basis or an in-house basis, we'll have to figure out what makes the most sense for the port. I am excited about new leadership and turning a new page at the port where we don't have the need for such immense legal services, however we're paying for them. So I think that Rick's been doing a good job of taking care of us and making sure we're doing everything properly. And I'm excited to move forward where we don't need as much lawyer services. So.
And I see as we transition the need for this.
I have a comment as well.
Of course.
I'd like to echo in a way what Commissioner Harding said. When I do the math, I understand the public concern comment we heard because this seems like another 100,000 for a third of a year, a period of time from now March until June. I do understand that to be a not to exceed amount, and I would hope that we wouldn't be incurring that level of in-house legal services in this next quarter. Ben, can you speak at all to whether you anticipate this full amount will be necessary?
I can't speak directly to whether we believe we're going to, utilize that full amount or not. I can clarify that we have not been billed for February. So this is from February 1st to June 30th. So it's a little more than a few months. And then additionally to the public comment, $100,000 does seem like a lot of money. And the total number I can understand. Looking at comps for attorneys, in-house attorneys, when you put in-house attorneys salary around 190 or 200,000 with full-time benefits, roughly another 50 or 60,000, 250,000 total per year for a full-time in-house attorney. So I know it seems high, but we're right in the ballpark, and Rick has really bent over backwards for the port. And so I understand that the sticker shock or the number, but it's really not far off from having continuous legal representation.
Thank you. And I think we've discussed a little bit, but hopefully we can put it on the list with our executive director that we may at this rate really consider having an in-house attorney again.
Mhm. Yeah, I look forward to maybe getting on a work session with the commission and coming up with a strategy and with Rick's assistance, figuring out the right way forward.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will call for the vote to authorize the interim executive director to sign amendment number 3 regarding contract number 2022-1015 for a contract authority increase of $100,000 with the law office Richard L. Hughes PLLC with a term date of June 30th, 2024, and a not to exceed amount of $483,000. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Rick.
you.
Okay, moving on to advisory calendar. We have 3 items on the advisory calendar, and first one is the assignment of lease M&D Food LLC, Clarita Maddox, retail or real estate senior manager. You have the floor.
Real estate includes retail, yes. Good evening, commissioners. Name Clarita Maddox. a real estate senior manager, and I am here to present to you an assignment of the space lease from M&D Food LLC. Today's presentation is an advisory item, so no action is required. The assignment of the space lease is from our current tenant, MD and Food LLC, doing business as Red Wagon Burgers. If you have not been there, I have to pause here and tell you, and have the best burger in town and the best chicken teriyaki sandwich. Please do go. They are fabulous. They are located at the Airport Retail Building at 705 Old Highway 99 Southwest Water. I wanted to give you a little background on the actual lease and how it has moved into the hands of MD and Food LLC. In 2015, the lease was signed with Ms. Young J. Kim for the 1,450 square feet space. The initial term was 5 years plus 2 additional options to extend that term. In 2016, Ms. Young J. Kim signed the lease to ST and MS Enterprises. And in 2017, ST and MS Enterprises turned around and assigned the lease and was approved by the commission, of course, to M&D Food LLC, our current tenant. We are here today to present another assignment of the M&D Food LLC to lease to J and Allen LLC. The remaining term on the lease is 10 years, expiring December 31st, 2034. The rent adjusts every year at a rate of 2.5% through 2029. And between 2030 to 2034, the base rent will increase based on commission policy. J.N. Allen LLC, which is the assignee, is an experienced restaurant owner and operator. The port conductor, its customary due diligence. And after reviewing and analyzing their financial condition, it was requested, and we received already a personal guarantee and an additional deposit to meet the port's financial requirements. This item will come back to you as an action item through the consent agenda of March 25th regular commission meeting. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain that now. Or comments.
Any questions or comments?
Clarita, what does the 2030, 2034 commission rule thing mean?
I'm sorry,
Go back.
back here.
2030 to 2034 based on then commission.
That's a, so whatever the policy is at the time, the commission every year we bring to the commission through the budget process, certain rates, or certain maybe at the time a different methodology to do rent adjustments. So we will make the adjustment at that time. We don't want to take today's practices, that far out. It's 10 years away. We don't know what the market is going to be, if it's going to be, we're going to not line up with the market. So we don't want to be open to that. So when it is that far out, we want to recognize the commission policy at the time, and the tenant knows that when we make this assignment, it will be based, any rents in the future will be based on the then commission policy.
Got it. So it's 2.5% through 2029 and
Yes.
to be determined.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Anybody on Zoom have a comment for the assignment of lease?
No public.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 2, lease amendment number 8, Olympia Marine Center. Clarita, you're still up.
Okay, sorry. No worries. Thank you so much. This is lease amendment number 8 for the Olympia Marine Center. And again, this is a advisory item and no action will be required. Amendment number 8 for the Olympia Marine Center provides an additional option to extend that term. The tenant is Olympia Marine Center, and they operate from the Swantown Works area at 700 Marine Drive, Northeast Olympia. Little background on the lease itself. In 1999, the initial lease was signed with Simon Johnson for construction of a marina support facility. The initial term was 30 years with a 10-year option to extend that term. In 2019, the lease was assigned from Simon Johnson to Swantown LLC. And in 2020, Swantown LLC assigned it to Olympia Marine Center. We are here today by the request of the Olympia Marine Center to requesting an amendment of the lease for an additional 15-year option to extend, that would be the second option, to extend the term for refinancing purposes. So that's what we have today. The remaining term in the initial 30 years is only 5 years plus the 10 years of that first option. And that's not sufficient time for him to go and refinance what he needs to refinance. Usually the banks require a whole lot more time to provide the funding that he might need. This additional 15-year option is to extend that term, and that would take the lease all the way to April 30th, 2054. I always like to give you information as how we're going to do the rent adjustments. So the rent adjustments for the first and second option periods for that first 10 year would be appraisal. Again, and we'll take a look at the market, and we will determine the monthly rent at the time. And after that first 10 year, entering the second option, which is what we're requesting, is that 15-year option. We'll do another appraisal to make sure we're in line with the market. The rent, again, will be based on the then commission policy, and the calculations will be based on that practice or approved action. The Olympia Marine Center is to perform at the same time we requested as we visited this to perform some deferred maintenance that we noticed in the building. So we asked that the roof be cleaned up, the parking lot repairs be done, and the gutters be also repaired and cleaned. This will come back to you at the through the consent agenda of March 25th, 2024 as an action item. Any questions or comments?
Questions, comments? Public hearing or public comment? Is there any public comment? Anybody on Zoom like to make public comment on this advisory item?
No public comment on Zoom.
Okay. Any other? Okay, your last chance. All right. Sounds like thank you, Clarita.
Thank you very much.
Third item on the advisory calendar is the surplus of port property and capital budget amendment. Marine Terminal Senior Manager Afshin Yilmaz, you're up, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Afshin Yilmaz, Marine Terminal Senior Manager, and I'm here for an advisory item on surplus of port property, flat deck rail cars. We're here to talk about the surplus of these 4 unneeded flat deck rail cars, and it's a advisory item, no action required tonight. It's a preliminary step to purchase up to 4 needed boxcar special forklifts. We got these rail cars back in 2011 through a FRA, Federal Railroad Administration, along with WSDOT grant, which funded the entire $155,127 for these 4 used flat deck rail cars. These cars are rarely used. They require extensive maintenance, and they were rarely used on very rare occasions. The equipment no longer serves the port's needs. It hardly did. So the objective here is to solve for a critical and immediate need, which is to surplus equipment that we do not use, but it can be used elsewhere, and replace it with equipment that we actually need, which are multifunctional forklift equipment. The disposal of this equipment, because it's through a grant, requires compliance with both the port and FRA surplus property processes. And also the purchase of forklift equipment requires an amendment for the 2024 capital budget, not for funds, but is a named item project. The timing, the rail cars serves no purpose. They just sit there. And again, we don't have the means to do the regular maintenance. There's no, they serve no purpose. It just occupies space. 3 of them are outside the marine terminal gates. You'll see it on Franklin. On the other hand, purchase of forklifts will eliminate monthly gross rental expenses of approximately $7,884 per month that we spend on forklifts for our current and very busy operations. The forklifts that we are utilizing at the port are not that easy to find when you need to lease them or purchase them. So when we have them for operations, especially if we are using them every day, we lease them, and that's what costs us per month. This process is governed by the Port Resolution 2024-01 and RCW 53.08.090. Based on this, the commission approval to surplus is required when we are surplusing personal property with a valuation more than $22,000. This will also require compliance with the FRA grant restrictions as to what we do with the surplus grant equipment, and their approval of surplus is required prior to the disposal. The current rail cars, they were purchased back in 2011, but right now the port, the valuation, book valuation by port staff is about $60,112. The market value may potentially be higher. Since the current value again exceeds $22,000, it will need commission approval. These valuations were submitted to Federal Railroad Administration a while back, and the determination for the net grant obligation value, and we are waiting for this response. We got some preliminary information recently, but not the final valuation. Any questions?
Questions or comments for option?
I will go again, but does anyone else want to go first?
Go ahead.
Sure,
Yeah, go ahead.
I could just say thank you for bringing this to us, and thank you for good management and finding this opportunity to hopefully bring some money back to the port.
Thank you.
I completely agree. I think it's creative and a good solution. I want to take this opportunity. I spoke with Afshan and Rudy a little bit about this broader community conversation about the future of the marine terminal and just providing more certainty for the staff, the community, the longshoremen, our tenants. And I know that's something that some of my fellow commissioners have talked about as well. And I sense an eagerness to really have this conversation so that we can all be more strategic in our decision making. And I hope that our new executive director would help us in getting that organized. Commissioner Ayala and I have been wanting to have that conversation pretty much for the last 2 years. And I think now the commission makeup, as well as Afshan's leadership and just willingness to really get beyond misinformation to what the actual realities are and the value that's being provided so that we can support the team. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to public comment then. Is there any public comment on Zoom? All right, Ms. Reiner, if you have the floor, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I appreciate when the commissioners speak up because I know your microphones are in the ceiling of the room and here on Zoom, we're having difficulty again listening, hearing you. As to the presentation that was just given, as I understand it, the forklifts are being rented to the tune of around $7,884 a month rental. I'm wondering why the Port of Olympia has to pay for the rental of these forklifts and why the corporations that come in to use our port don't reimburse us. Why do we have to supply this equipment for offloading, I believe, or movement of materials on the marine terminal floor? So obviously, $7,800 a month comes up to close to $100,000 a year, and it just makes one wonder what's going on. Another question is, thank you, Amy Evans, for that comment just a moment ago regarding, and you used the words, I think I heard you correctly. You said future of marine terminal. So I didn't hear the rest of what you said. You were kind of mumbling. Perhaps I'm just have a bad speaker on my computer. But anyway, I didn't really understand where you're going with that comment. As you know, since the marine terminal's losing money, taxpayers feel like we're forking out for every single house money for this marine terminal that's losing money. And people are having trouble paying their mortgages. People are having trouble paying their rent. And you had this on the back of the owners of buildings in Olympia and Thurston County for a long time. So we're tired of it losing money. I agree. We need a conversation about the marine terminal. I presume that's what you're referring to. Thank you, Amy, for your comment. Bye-bye.
Could I ask an additional question of Option? Option, could you clarify whether those forklift rental expenses are reimbursed by the tenant or borne by the port?
They are absolutely reimbursed by not the tenant, by the customer. For the operations, apart from labor charges, we do charge for equipment, and we more than cover for those rental expenses. The reason we brought those rental expenses are it's not a net debit to our port because we get reimbursed by that with a markup. However, we still, if we own these forklifts, it's going to pay for itself. So normally, leasing forklifts are a much better option due to maintenance and not having to own the equipment for short-term use or for one-off operations. But the current operation we have, it's continuous. Anytime the port is open, every day we are using that equipment, utilizing it, and it will pay for itself very quick. And it's a much better outcome for the taxpayer financially.
So just to clarify, all of those rental expenses are being paid for by the user, not the port.
All of that are being reimbursed by the user with a markup.
Thank you.
And to clarify, with the new forklifts, those will continue to be paid by the user, or will continue to charge equipment fees, I mean?
Absolutely. That will be a net credit to the marine terminal.
If I could just, because maybe it is helpful for the public, my understanding, Option, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, is that we actually have those rail cars cannot be used. They were paid for with a grant. And so we have an opportunity, instead of just giving up that money, to repurpose it into something that helps us save more income down the line, that helps us save money.
Correct.
And thank you for.
Correct. We have no value for the rail cars. And I believe since we have no use for them in the future, it will be a liability for us. Right now, we have we feel there's market interest in them, and we would like to take opportunity to get rid of them and put them into use and save even more money for the operations.
And the other option would be just giving the grant money back that was used to purchase the rail cars. Instead, we can use it to defray an existing cost to help our bottom line improve.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did you have more to present?
No.
All good? Okay.
Unless you have other questions.
No, is there any other questions, comments? No? All right. Good.
Thank you.
We have a capital budget amendment piece. Talk about.
Can I move on?
Missy, can you advance the slide? There we go.
Can you control or no?
Okay, again, I'm Afshin Yilmaz, Marine Terminal Senior Manager, and this is the second presentation I have today. And this is an advisory item for a capital budget amendment for the forklifts purchase.
Sorry.
Today's presentation, again, it's an advisory item to approve an amendment to the 2024 capital budget to purchase up to 4 needed boxcar special forklifts. This is tied and subject to the successful surplus of the 4 unneeded flat deck rail cars that we just presented. So the picture you are looking at are actually one of the forklifts that we are using in the warehouse every day. That's an actual photo from our warehouse. That's one of the forklifts that we are leasing at the moment. These are very indispensable to supporting our operations in the warehouse. As I mentioned earlier, we use them every day to load trucks, outbound trucks. The port has been leasing these 4 forklifts since the beginning of this operations. We just finished our 3rd ship, by the way, last Friday, and the warehouse is full. And we've been leasing them since November 23 at the moment for a monthly rental expense of $7,884. And these have a specific for this operation to get those bail clamps on them. And again, it was a little bit difficult to find them, so we keep what we lease and use the same equipment. Again, the same, you're looking at another one that we are leasing at the moment. Up to 4 of these, we have managed to find 4 of these immediately available for purchase. These capabilities are superior at the right tonnage, and they permit loading of both tractor trailers and rail boxcars at some point that we will need. They are second-hand, used, but with low hours. Estimated cost $56,666 each. Again, this is just an estimate, including sales tax. So our proposal is to amend the marine terminal capital budget to add a new named project called the Boxcar Special Forklifts for up to $226,664. And for this, there will be a commission approval is required. No new additional funding is required. Proceeds from the sale of rail cars will offset the cost of forklifts. And if necessary, additional funding is available from capital contingency projects. With this, the end result is the capital budgets will be sufficient to purchase up to 4 forklifts with the named item. No additional port funds will be needed to add it to the already approved and agreed 2024 capital budget. And along with that, the purchase will fully eliminate $7,884 of monthly rental expense. And as long as our operations continue, will pay for itself in a short time. The next steps will be, this will be brought to the commission for approval as action items to ask to authorize the executive director to surplus ports for flat deck rail cars. And amend the 2024 capital budget to add a boxcar special forklift project for the dollar amount of $226,664. This is planned for our next regular meeting on March 25th, 2024.
All right, thank you, Afshin. Any other questions or comments? I should ask for public comment one more time, I think. Is anybody on Zoom would like to make comment?
No comment on Zoom.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Afshin. Moving on to commissioner reports and discussion. Commissioner Hardy.
My quote of the day is those who do not move do not notice their chains. That is Rosa Luxemburg.
All right, Commissioner Vasavra.
Just, well, I had the opportunity to attend as a second meeting that Commissioner Sanders was at as well, of the Sea Level Rise Collaborative. That's the joint work between the City of Olympia, the Port of Olympia, and Lot Water Treatment Center. We've probably talked about it here before, but it's really outstanding work. One of my take homes was that for these sorts of collaboratives to work, they of course have to be resourced, and this was resourced. There was a presentation on different funding approaches for doing some of the sea level rise work, and I actually commend it to all of you. Maybe I'll send it to Camille to forward on to the whole commission. It was one of the best consultant presentations I've seen in a while. And I just wanted to kind of segue from that to a comment about, thank you, Commissioner Harding, for bringing up the future of the marine terminal and sort of that business conversation. I think there's an even bigger conversation because of all the changes happening with the sea level rise and the City of Olympia that will impact kind of the downtown, and opportunities as well as challenges that are being faced. So one thing I'd like to be able to learn about, and I've started asking about, and maybe our staff will help us, is understand, has the port ever looked at the properties we own on the Port Peninsula, not just the marine terminal? Have we ever looked at them together and done, or what would it take to do a sort of master planning process where we're kind of considering these properties not individually, but as a whole in how they relate to the city? So that's something I'd like to ask if the commission has interest, because during agenda planning, I'd love to put sort of a conversation about master planning as a potential conversation for the future, but wanted to make sure that you either validated your interest in that as well, or had a chance to inform what that would look like.
Mr. Tom, any discussion?
I just wanted to bring up the EPA Clean Ports Program. I'm sure you've all seen a little bit about that, but it's pretty exciting stuff. They're offering some huge grants, and I think we should really keep our eyes open, and the staff should as well. There's some great money there that's going to be offered for port cleanups, and we need it.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders, anything to add?
Yes, I forwarded that Clean Ports program to the president to send to Rudy. It is an exciting opportunity to look at the marine terminal and working on air quality issues and amazing opportunities for equipment, for shore power and things like that. And there's also several other grant opportunities to look at. And I just wanted to echo Vice President Jasmine Vasavada that it was an amazing opportunity to participate on the Sea Level Rise Collaborative. And at that time I was elected vice chair of that group. So I'm really excited to work with them and continue my committee assignments. And I'm excited about the Small Cities program as well, including, Grand Mound, Rochester. And I'm glad to be back amongst and sitting with my fellow commissioners. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I don't have anything to report this week, so move on to other business. Is there any other business we'd like to discuss?
Just in response to Commissioner Vasavada's question about the master planning, I think looking at how things interface with each other is great. So individually and together, as far as looking at moving forward in an informed way. I also, and I think it's already pinned with the staff, but just for the commission, an item around policy and strategic level input on our contract procedures and having a conversation with the commission about things that rise to that level. Whether it's equity or whether it's authority or just, I think some of those were already on the docket, but looking at that from our strategy lens at some point.
All right, thank you. Anything to add?
I would agree.
Yeah, okay.
I have one more item, just that I shared this with some of the port staff, that there are some really short-term, quick turnaround grant opportunities at the state level where they're gonna have a hard time spending probably money this fiscal year. It's sort of use it or lose it money that includes industrial site preparation, feasibility, and planning analysis. So I would love to hear back. I heard that Sean had, that a consultant at the port is looking at that, but I'd love to hear back about whether we've decided to pursue that or what projects we have that are kind of in the hopper, seeking funding for. I've had a chance to meet with Sean about grant strategy, but I still don't have that sort of sense of what's on our list that we're looking up, except our giant Deschutes restoration, for these opportunistic funds. So I'd love to hear more about that.
And I think if the staff needs more capacity from the commission, I've heard, I think every single one of the commission mention making sure that we're taking advantage of these grant opportunities. So if the staff doesn't have the capacity, we need to know that, because I think we are saying, please.
We would like to resource it
please
further.
resource the grant applications. So if you are finding that your department or our new executive director is finding we don't have the capacity, we need to shift that, because these are timely products. Now or never on some of them.
I'd like to echo Jasmine, Vice President Basavada, about the grant opportunities, because I saw that grant as well, you know, and it is a quick turnaround with the Department of Commerce. And so, you know, knowing, you know, as we're moving forward with grant opportunities, you know, to have an avenue or like someone to, you know, share these, like a point of contact in regards to quick turnarounds with grants. And you know, I appreciate the opportunity to work with our staff, and I know that grants are something that are really important, but then, you know, staff capacity at the same time. So I appreciate that and look forward to working on that together.
All right, thank you, everybody. Any other business? All right, we'll move on to meeting announcements then.
Okay, Monday, the 18th at 3:30. Monday, the 18th, 3:30, a commission work session here. Tuesday, the 19th is 6 p.m. POCAC meeting. Monday, the 25th, a regular port commission meeting here at 5:30. And then Monday, April 8th, 5:30, commission meeting here as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on the meeting announcement? No? All right, well, hearing no other business, this meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.